Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prime Championship Circuit 8 Quarterfinals action, where we look to crown the successor of Predecessor glory. I'm D'Lo, your host for today, and joined here with me is Joe, yours truly, and Lance. We got Choice Plays as the man behind the curtain, and we hope you're looking forward to the sets we got cooking for you today. Lads, how we feeling?
I am so excited, D'Lo. I have been waiting 2 weeks since our Swiss finished for this. I don't even want to talk. I just want to get right into it.
I'm feeling the same exact way too. I'm super stoked to see all the intense matches that we're going to be getting this weekend right here on the PCC 8.
Indeed, it's a lot of stuff to be excited for, but hold your horses, Lance. We still got some time to set up some stuff before we can get into all the fun and fight. First matchup we have for you guys here today is certainly one to talk about. It's D-Lab versus Bad Timing. It's the defending champions versus the scrappy underdogs. What are our thoughts on this matchup?
So, Bad Timing is an underdog, but the question really is how much of an underdog are they? They've been putting in a lot of work. They've been kind of shifting the meta up a little bit. Blub's been in my DMs a lot. Their offlaner talking about, hey, I'm playing ADC offlane. Nobody's ready for it. We're wasting enemies' bans because they have to ban out Grim because I'm playing it so much. I do think if any team can counter it, it's our defending champions in D-Lab, though.
Yeah, this is what's going to get really interesting because, of course, we're going to see some of the more normal kind of meta picks, but especially in the PCCA, we see a lot of like off-meta picks from time to time. Like at one point, we have like dual lane playing mid, and that was kind of like so-and-so. But for this PCC, we kind of have Blub, as you said, kind of avoiding the ADC and the off lane. And I think there's one or two other teams actually doing the same thing too, where it just seems like ADCs with a lot of like peel for themselves, like the Grim or even Decker off lane, is really just putting in some serious work, and it's really hard for a lot of teams to seem to find a way to break through that strategy they're doing.
Hard to break through the machine that is going to be on either side. I mean, D-Lab, they are a force to be reckoned with. They are synergetic. They are cohesive. They have damn near been together through it all. Their comp has remained consistent with all of this entire year since last April, I believe. So you know they have those comms on lock, but BT, they have a weapon of their own, and their name begins with a P, ends with an oblo.
Pablo's insane. Pablo hasn't really been putting the grind in to stay at the top of this, but there was a long time throughout the history of Predecessor that it was 1A, 1B with him and Neft from EU. Pablo has won 3 Prime Championship circuits, the most of any player all time, and Vecron has been a support for a large portion of his success as well. The players and the experience that are on Bad Timing, the roster has a lot of pedigree to it, but so does the D-Lab one.
Yeah, as much as hype we're putting on this team right here, we have to recognize that this is D-Lab. We're talking about the last reigning champions of the PCC. We got Lava, Import, Abby, Tosi, Legonative, and a lot of those people have been grinding ranks seriously super hard. So they're like really ready to just go after for the consecutive wave run here.
And we're talking about accolades here. Let's just get into the hard, cold data, the facts. Stats coming at you here in a second on screen. And it's just going to show the, like you said, Lance, pedigree that is shown on each team. I mean, walk me through it. Look at these KDAs. Those things are skyrocketing. Can't tell if I'm on Wall Street or from covering PCC. Those are some high stats.
So the thing that impresses me the most about these stats is the objective secures for Dirty Lake and the boys. 5.4, almost 5.5 objectives on average every game. That means that they're almost always getting to that third Fangtooth. That provides those extra stats to your damage and to your defenses. Makes you that much harder to kill and makes it easier to kill the enemies when you're in team fights.
Another important thing to kind of point out is the fact that the KDA, the reason why it's so high on D-Lab, because D-Lab has been very well known to be a very team-centric kind of like in those mid to late game team fights. They're all really great individual players, but a lot of those kills they're getting, they're gonna get those kills in team fights. So that's something that's gonna be very important that BT has to recognize, that they have to really step up in those big team fights, or they're gonna get won over by D-Lab.
When you see stats like that with such a big disparity in the KDA, you have to wonder, like you just said, Joe, A lot of team fights, a lot of scrapping. Does bad timing need to try to step up their aggression, or during that early game, are you just going to take your hands off the wheel and say, hey, we're not trying to fight until we get to those later stages?
It's going to be something we're going to have to tell. I think that these stats show a little bit of a favor towards D-Lab, of course, with what you're seeing on the numbers. But it also has to do with the fact that D-Lab was winning most of their games. They only dropped one in all of Swiss. Bad timing did take a couple of L's throughout that portion. But as anybody who's followed the competitive scene of Predecessor or of Paragon the Overprime knows, bad timing, known to take it a little bit easy in the entry rounds and really hype themselves up and get grinding right before the main event starts.
I think one last important stat we can take from this is the most banned heroes on both sides, because D-Lab, as I said, it's very they want to work together as a team in those big team fights, and Gadget is someone that can really disrupt that whole team strategy deploying West. But BT, they like to ban Miri a lot because they hate having the support that's always going to be at every single team fight. They don't want to deal with that. They want to go for the more smaller team fights and all that kind of good stuff. So you can really tell a lot about the kind of strategies and what each team wants to do coming into this tournament.
So we understand what the team wants to do as far as their strategies on the field, but the question is, we wait for this draft to pop up here. What are they going to do for their P's and B's? And it's worth noting here, guys, Tara, she's been freed. She is unshackled. She could not terrorize the Swiss stage, but she will not be saved from that any longer, and that could be an awfully scary thing on either side.
And I think that that's very important in this matchup specifically. We know how much Lauber loves his Sevarog. There really hasn't been that hard of a late game counter to Sevarog in the game until the release of Terra, because you used to be able to just Colossal Blow whatever the threat was away from you. Now Terra pops that ult, gets that CC immunity. You can't peel the Terra away from your ADC. You can't peel it away from yourself. So we'll have to see how that impacts the picks and bans, and if bad timing decides to go that route to try to stop Lauber a little bit.
Even outside of that kind of matchup into set, Taylor is just someone that's gonna really disrupt a lot of comfort strategy by teams. Well, a lot of teams like to focus their CC and kind of combo chain on the CC so they can really get some really easy picks. But Taylor kind of just ignores all of that. So as soon as she is top on your ADC, there's nothing you can really do besides maybe trying to do Decker Cage, Sales Cage. But if you don't have those cages and walls to kind of block up the Taylor, Taylor's gonna do some really big disrupting in the back lines. That's gonna really shake up how the teams need to change up the strategies coming into this tournament.
Well, luckily we don't need to wait any longer to find out if we're going to be using those weapons on our side or banning them out. P's and B's coming at you right away. And I just got to wonder, Lance, what are we looking for the first half?
I hate to say it, but I think that Dirty Lake and the boys has to either ban Grim or Terra, and it looks like they are going to go the route of the Grim.
Yeah, as we kind of touched on earlier, Bluff has been playing a lot of ADCs offlane, and the one ADC he has the most success in offlane is Grim. And I know this is the PCC, you want to do the best strategies for your teams, but come on, I see ADC offlane, I kind of cry myself to sleep. I just don't want to see ADCs offlane, I want to see man-to-man, melee-to-melee kind of action right here. But doing the Grim ban does mean that D-Lab won't be able to ban out the Taylor that Lauber wants to go, and we see the Sailors ban right there. They kind of show up some of the picking strategies, the import on the Sailors kind of pick right there. So the question for D-Lab, they just first pick Taylor, or they want to get Lauber on the Sevarog?
And that's always an interesting question when you know that a certain pick could really counter out one of your favorites. Do you decide to wield that for yourself? Indeed, that question is going to be immediately answered with the Terra top pick. D-Lab are not playing around.
And it makes me wonder if now bad timing decides to pick that Sevarog up to take it away from Lauber, because if they're able to lock in Terra and Sevarog on that side, it would be quite the front line for Dirty Lake and the boys. Looks like they are going to go with the Argus, which is a flex pick, can go into the support role for Vecron, or it can go into the mid lane with Fox here. Second pick should be coming in just a second. That might provide a little bit more clarity, but I would expect this to be their offlane pick that comes in. Actually, it's going to be the Drongo, which might be the offlane pick.
Yeah, that's gonna really kind of throw in the wrench in D-Lab's kind of strategy, because you don't know. Like, usually you see ADC pick, like, okay, yes, ADC, but you know Blood plays jungle offlane, so it's like, okay, is that gonna be a jungle offlane? Is it gonna be a jungle ADC? But either way, the jungle is a very strong ADC pick at the moment, so there's nothing wrong with picking that up in this first half, but we're gonna see Aurora being actually picked right here, which is very, like, un-D-Lab like, because every time they see Sedwalk up for grabs, especially when there's no hard counter, they love to pick up the Sedwalk, but maybe they're actually scared of that jungle offlane potential pick, and they maybe see that, hey, Sedwalk's gonna really struggle in this matchup. Let's put someone a little bit better into jungle, maybe like a Terra or Aurora in this case.
Twin Bast locked in there for D-Lab, trying to just round things out. Bad Timing have clearly opted for damage and aggression to start out. What do we think is the logic behind that? Why are we not really opting for frontline and instead just going full blast here?
So they're going full blast, and with picking up the Muriel, it does reveal that that's going to be a Argus mid lane. Because D-Lab's already got their frontline more or less selected here, Zarus is off the table, Tara's already selected, Aurora already selected. D-Lab's probably not going to go that direction. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bad Timing now continue to target... Oh, actually, never mind. They're not going to target the ADC pool because the Twin Blast was already picked. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them target this mid lane or the support record. And we do see the Decker ban coming through. That is good. Decker feels pretty good into Muriel. So next ban should be coming through in just a second here.
Yeah, very good smart ban for them to take away the Decker in that case. And I was going to say D-Lab wants to ban frontliners because it's very obvious that Bad Time is lacking frontliners, and one of the best picks that BT can pick up right now is Quan, but he's banned away. So now that frontline roster is going to get even more pinched right here. So the question of BT is what exactly they're going to put in the offlane and the jungle, right? Because both Quan, Ceres has been banned, Terra and the world have been picked already. That kind of roster is very like pinched right now, and they're going to get some very top meta picks in offlane jungle. But here we are, Murdoch ADC, and that highly means we have an actual ADC offlane.
Ooh, sorry to hear that for you, Joe. Gonna be hanging your head in shame, unfortunately. But you know what? Hey, maybe it'll pay off. D-Lab, I'm hoping, have done their homework. I know they've been scrimming. I know they've been scrapping. So you got to imagine they're ready for these antics from Bad Timing. And we're talking about waiting for that jungle pick here. Bad Timing, obviously, again, they have that weapon in Pablo's howitzers locked in. The question is, what can they do to enable it? But that howitzer pick is going to be nice for that mid lane.
It is going to be nice for them. And Appy Picker is a howitzer god. I've never seen Appy Picker not perform well, specifically in PCCs on this howitzer. He played it pretty much all of the last finals, had very, very large impacts on it. Also going to pick the Narbash up, try to mitigate some of that DPS that will be coming out from the double ADC comp on the side of Bad Timing.
Yeah, very smart choice by Howitzer too, especially because he brings some very heavy single target damage, and you're looking at a double AC comp with Milia. You want to bring that single target damage because you have to like eliminate the backline as fast as possible. You cannot frontline because you're going to be taking so much damage from both ADCs and the Argus just holding down R&B right there. I almost wanted to see a different support pick other than Narbash, just because you really want to like go for picks backline. I think a Victor support can have been really good right here, but we're going to see the Rampage being picked right here. I think all the options in the jungle right now for BT having just only one frontline, I think Rampage is probably the best pickup, and I think he's going to really round out this team comp surprisingly.
And yeah, rounded out these two team comps are, guys, just looking from our bird's eye view here in the booth, what do we think is the identity of each of these teams? What are they looking to achieve to get first game success?
Well, BT is looking to brawl. You don't lock in two ADCs. You don't put an ADC in the spot that you're supposed to have a tank or a frontliner or an engager at if you're not just looking to team fight and scrap the entire game. I'm glad we're seeing this. Blub has been teasing to me that they're playing ADC offlane all week, and I'm glad he wasn't bluffing.
Yeah, looking at both these teams, I feel like if D-Lab doesn't come together in those team fights especially, I feel like they're just going to get really overwhelmed by the double ADCs. So I think in this game, we have to really pay attention to both the Terror and the Wall from D-Lab. Terror for her dive potential, but then the Wall has a very nice wall, and she can really like block off certain team fights if she uses correctly. And if you can get that wall between the ADCs and the front line, I think that's going to be golden and what D-Lab needs to do to win this game.
Well, there you have it from the mouths of the analyst experts themselves, but we don't have to wait any longer to see the action play out. Game 1, Team Glory of D-Lab versus Individual Achievement of BT. Regimented practice and machine-like accuracy versus raw talent. We're going to toss it off to our casters, Shift AC and Tang. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Dilo and Des there. It's TJ, DJ, and Tang here for game number 1 of the PCC main event. And man, I don't know, Tang, there's just something special about PCC main event weekends. Holy, what a game we've got to look forward to here, Tang.
Yeah, D-Lab versus BT, I think that is definitely one of the best matchups we could have hoped for the first time, especially with sort of the meta shift that we've observed in scrims behind the scenes, with those ranged offlaners being picked up more and more since Blub made the sort of rotation over to the offlane, formerly the mid laner of BT, now pilots all those weird sort of ranged picks in the offlane. This time, it's gonna be the Murdoch.
Right, it must be kind of fantastic as well for a team coming into main event. You're going up against the defending champions of the PCC in D-Lab, and it's almost like you have bent the meta to your will almost. What seemed to be a bit of a fringe pick kind of popped up here and there, all of a sudden became a massive question mark to a lot of teams to come up with answers here, right? And as you say, that Murdoch going in towards the off lane, it looks like going up against Lorba on that Terra pick as well. Another new hero now unleashed on towards the battleground for PCC 8 main event here. There's a couple of question marks, Tang here, but do D-Lab have the answers to that double ADC?
Yeah, I mean, if I knew that, then I don't think we would have to look at this game. Honestly, it's like whenever the topic of a ranged offlaner comes up, there's always like two things, okay? So you can permagank it, and then hopefully it's useless. You can also like try to manage your waves correctly, where the sort of ranged offlaner has to step up in order to get farm, and then like obviously combine that with step 1, and you have an easy game on your hands. The big question is, it sounds easy. It's not as easy in practice. Like BT have quite a decent record piloting those ranged offlaners in the solo lane, and I'm definitely expecting them to keep it up, especially against D-Lab that haven't really faced against it so far. I think in sort of scrims behind the scenes, we don't really see those two teams face off against each other due to them facing off here on the PCC main stage today.
Well, absolutely here, with that preparation as well, we know that Bad Timing have been pumping a lot of work into the scrims in the last couple of days as well, just to get ready for this matchup against D-Lab, as you say. Already starting to feel the pressure coming out from Blub on that offlane Murdoch. Lorba currently still waiting on that level 2 to take over. Just having a look at his XP bar, it's only a third of the way. He just got completely locked away from his lane. It's going to be a bit of a miserable old time, as Joey says. Maybe Lorba crying himself to sleep to deal with that offlane Murdoch here. But D-Lab, as you say, could just go for the full gank. I mean, they've got import on that jungle, and he know how proactive he can be.
Yeah, already starting blue side, rotating over to the right hand side. It's gonna meet up in the mid lane first though. Fox blink forward by Epi Pick is not gonna connect with the mine. Just a bit of damage. Big misplay by Epi. That's the blink down.
It's a misplay, but at the same time gives you such a statement of intent from Zertlake and the boys. You wouldn't think it'd be the howitzer blinking, looking for that landmine to knock Fox back towards the howitzer with import waiting in the wings. He's going to wait on the right hand side for the river camps. Both of these going to be picked up by your side on Dawn as well. So far so good for D-Lab when we look at everything apart from that right hand side. So let's switch our focus time. Let's have a look over towards the left with two absolutely stellar dual lanes here with Pablo Vecron versus Lakenator and Toasty.
I think if you only wanted to watch a duo lane, I think it's definitely those two duo lanes facing off against each other. We heard it on the cast before. Pablo already winning 3 PCCs. Backrom, a former PCC winner as well. So is Toasty and Lakinators. All of them have the experience. All of them have the skill. But again, on the solo lane, Lorba and Import fighting a 2v2 in a second. Oba waiting in the shadows.
Just going to see who blinks first. Who is going to step forward? Import back towards his river, maybe looking for a different angle towards a free camp on the left here. They're going to know that Oba has now recalled it, so Blub's in danger, especially with that Hoarfrost going from Import. Going to avoid the hurl, avoid the roots here, and Blub gets enough distance to at least get away from the gank cleanly here.
Yeah, so he does play safe, knows that something is up. Oba also not over forcing his hand even if he's on the right hand side. They know that the jungler pathing is gonna be over there in the solo lane, so neither team really oversteps. Now Lorba is able to crash the wave with the assistance of Imports, and it's gonna be a reset lane state. Lorba is gonna get a few more items and is gonna do pretty well in that solo lane. He just needs to scale up a bit. Once he gets that level 6, the knockback from Murdoch is not gonna do anything to him anymore. The traps neither, so I think that is sort of the breaking point he's hoping for. But now on the left hand side, Oba again making his presence known. It's just gonna lurk in the shadows though.
Thankfully for Lakenator and Toasty underneath the tier 1 tower, so Oba doesn't really have the setup from his duo lane. Of course, not having something like that Decker, not having something like the Richter or the Steel this time, going to be having the Muriel. I mean, we know the value that Muriel can bring in the mid-game when we get towards the skirmishes, when that level 6 comes online here. But I'm having a look here at Oba's real options for setup here, and he's not really got much. I think that mid lane might be his best bet.
Honestly, for the Rampage at the moment, yes, mid lane, he can chain those hard CCs with that Argus Orb. He can also just be a Rampage in a sort of a comp where he has double ADC threats and just be the big frontliner, right? He doesn't need to do too much, nothing fancy. He's just gonna throw some rocks in the mid lane, but with Howie just having a bit of a good sidestep there, dodging out on a few of those stuns is gonna be fine. But what I wanted to say is that Rampage is just gonna be sort of the body that is gonna absorb so much pressure that his dual lane and his offlaner are hopefully gonna dish out a lot of damage. Fang already started up by Dealer.
Very early one as well. We're not even at the 6-minute mark. Oba's got the boulder toss ready, trying to stun up onto Import, gonna land. But Oba's just being zoned out of the pit here. Very clean play coming out from Des Lake and the boys, and everyone up the escalator, over the wall, and back to safety. Easy as you like for the first neutral of the day.
Yeah, Fangtooth claimed no answer for the mini prime possible. You mentioned it 6 minutes in. Mini prime has not spawned yet, so can't really do anything about that. Lorba against Blub on that side. Honestly, Lorba did get a few good trades into Blub. Is a level down, but with the big wave pushing into him, he should be doing fine. Now ticks over to level 6 as well, and that was the breaking point that I was mentioning before. That gives him the unstoppable ultimate. That's gonna give him sort of the outplay potential to that Murdoch. It's gonna disable all the hard CC that Murdoch has in his kit with the static trap and the pushback with the shotgun possible to be ignored.
You mentioned about that ultimate. I believe it's 6 to 8 seconds of CC immunity. Just flat out, no CC can hit you. Slows, stuns, roots, whatever, just running through it here. And I'm just wondering, of course, on the first day of the main event, also the first game as well, to showcase the Terra into this particular comp here, Tang. I mean, what do you think about Terra at the moment? Is this a good angle for that pick?
I think before we talk about that, Epi pick in the mid lane is gonna get caught by Fox there for a second. Epi picker does have the ultimate up, but is gonna take a big chunk, half HP. But back to the point, TJ, I think the Terra pick is actually pretty good. Muriel doesn't have any hard CC. It's not gonna matter against that, but against the Argus, against the Rampage, and also the knockback by Blub, it's gonna do wonders in that composition.
Especially when Lorba is able to just run down these picks. You have to feel that that is the mission objective for him as well. But we have to get to that point. He's been doing pretty well against that offlane. I'm just looking at the health of the towers at the moment here. Still relatively unhurted. It's going to be a little bit of chip damage, maybe a little bit more towards that other side. Fox, though, in the river. Lorba is now sniffing around. That's to make it rain. Going to force out the blink from Fox already. Lorba looking for the hole. Going to avoid it there. Goes in with the Reckless Assault. Going to get the damage. Going to get the first blood underneath the tier 1 tower. Vecron is there, but cannot save his Argus.
So big reversal of fortune used there as well. So on the dual lane, they're gonna suffer a tiny bit because of that as well. Big Muriel ultimate is only gonna trade out for that flash on that Terra. So it's gonna give a bit more survivability to that Murdoch on that offlane. But all in all, still first blood going over to D-Lab 8 minutes into the game. Honestly, one of the latest first bloods we've seen in the PCC. So we can definitely see both teams being completely locked in. Don't want to do any mistakes, but honestly, this one seemed like more like not an unforced error, but just a really good Howie mine by Epipicker, setting that one up, and then with the Lorber rotation, getting the kill for D-Lab.
And doesn't even need that blink into the landmine to knock back Fox in towards the waiting arms there. And also, of course, Lorber making a rotation. Was an import on the gank here. Starting to see maybe some of the set plays coming out from Dirty Lake and the boys. And it gives him a good opportunity, as import shows on our right-hand side, to start up that mini prime as well. And at the moment, Blob is just not really in a position. He's got to clear that tier 1 tower of the minions before he can really try and contest this mini prime here. And it looks like there's going to be 2 unanswered neutral objectives going the way of your defending champions.
And that's pretty illegal, honestly. Looking at the cooldown timers of those ultimates, Lorber, no ult up, Howitzer, no ult up. In theory, you gotta think that the BT team fighting is stronger at the moment, but they're always late to the party. Imports instantly pouncing on that mini prime, securing the second small objective of the game for his team, and with that one being secured on herself, it kind of shows me that the Aurora wants to be involved in the action even more, wants to push out some lanes with that mini prime active. Now in the mid lane though, Epipicker.
Well, Ober's the one that wants to be active. Hasn't really made any ganks. We're going to force out the blink from Epipicker. Goes into the making rain. Synaptic obliterated. Who shoots first? It's going to be the Rockets. It's going to be strength of volume over the 3 shots coming out from Fox on that Argus pick here. But 2 kills. Going to be finding a way into Dead's Lake and the boys' pockets. Both of them in that mid lane.
And if you gotta think that the flash play before from Epipicker could be nerfs, I think he's definitely redeemed himself at this point. Both kills being happening in the mid lane, Epipicker being a big part of them in either one. And now with that ultimate of Howitzer used to dish out the last ticks of damage, BMF also used by the Rampage, trying to assist his Argus any way he could, but in the end it's just wasted resources and the kill going over to the side of D-Lab.
Just having a little look at the scoreboard at this point. Of course, the 2 kills, one in Epipicker's pocket, one going to be the first blood picked up by Lorber here. CS scores across the board going to be relatively even, about 10 across the map here. The main difference, of course, is going to be in those neutrals. Just having a little look across the top of your screens at the levels. Unsurprising, Blub has the level lead over Lorber on this Terror, but with this grouping up for the second Fangtooth here, Ober's finding himself walled up by Import. The reversal comes down, knock up on towards Import. Fox trying to find damage on that angle towards right hand, trying to pinch it as well. They do at least get the jungler, but Lorber is really unhealthy, having to get away. Might not be able to be in this fight for much longer. Now, what can Pablo and Vecron do? But D-Lab just grouping up. Safety in numbers. A Dreadnova connects on towards that Howitzer, and it is enough to at least force them away from the pick here, but they have lost their jungler. Lorber is still too low to really go for the frontlining play. Import, another glacial charge, trying to get a pick on towards Vecron, goes to the blink, goes towards a Hawk, on towards Blob. Import just loses his life, and Vecron is the one who confirms that one. Neither jungler is going to be here for now. Around that pit as both teams still dancing around, but it looks like BT with Ober on the way might look towards his Fangtooth or simply back away.
And the big thing there, TJ, that I wanted to highlight is the Nabish healing coming through for the side of D-Lab, just keeping everyone topped off. So honestly, I think if Import doesn't blink in there, I think they're totally fine. They're healing up by the second. Nabish providing so much sustain in those longer fights, in those longer engages. And honestly, even Lorber was already back to a quarter HP. So I think if they just waited a bit, played their cooldowns, played a bit more conservative, they would have gotten it in the end. Now it's all back to square one. We see BMF being up for Ober. He's going to walk into the pit, but D-Lab late climb to it.
Toasty hits him with the funk, but Ober walking towards that Fangtooth. All eyes on the objective as Ober goes for the pounce, goes for it, but Import's Hunt is going to find it. But now what about the exit frags? The make it rain from Epipicker gets some damage down, but it's still caught within the pit. The glacial charge will be used to wall off, but they have taken down Ober. Fox in that Synaptic Obliterator, but just leaves Blob with no way to get away from Import on that Aurora. And now bad timing, really have got some bad timing right now. They need to get out of the river, they need to get back, but through their spawn, that's probably not what they had in mind. Fangtooth goes to D-Lab, and they're going to take 3 kills off the back.
Yeah, that's just a disaster play for BT. I think they need to be the ones scaling early. With those Rangers in those off lanes, you can get a pretty decent CS lead. But even if you consider that ADC scale usually pretty well, you just don't have the front line in order to really utilize them. So they need to get the leads early. With D-Lab already picking up their 3rd objective, with them being at a 6-1 scoreline. And also, honestly, with Lorber just playing really phenomenal on that off lane. Didn't really drop too many CS, even with all of those rotations impacting the mid lane, being there for every objective fight. I think he was only like 20 CS down last time I checked. And honestly, getting that frag in the mid lane pretty much equalizes that already. Meanwhile, Blub not really finding too much impact on that Murdoch pick.
Well, maybe for bad timing, what they need to look at, as you say, is going to be that scaling. Need to have something to cling on to here, because at the moment the writing on the wall is a little bit dire for them. 6 kills to 1 down, no neutrals being picked up by them, no towers also being picked up on that minimap either. So whatever they're trying on the map, it just isn't working for them. Blub making a move over towards the mid lane, just trying to sense an opportunity, maybe trying to catch on towards Import in that jungle here. But D-Lab playing very restrained here, not really giving an opportunity for BT to find a pick.
Yeah, honestly, maybe a bit too slow. Lorber changes that though instantly, gets a really good trade onto Blub. I think that was the reversal of fortune also forced, so a lot of cooldowns being used there, and Import still has his cryosysm up, so I'm expecting him to actually look for something soon as well, with almost all blinks being down from that previous fight. Pablo in that offlane.
He's just sharp cutting straight into the wall though, but Ober's got that behemoth, starting to get some damage down, but Pablo's got to be careful because Lakenator still got damage, goes for the ventilate, goes for the kill. Lakenator takes down Penta Pablo in his left-hand side. Now Happy Picker with the rotation, looking towards Ober to make it rain, to rain on his parade. Can't find a killing blow with his R2000. The basic will have to do. That is yet another kill going their way. Tosido tanking up this tower, able to get away from the final shot, but a Synaptic Obliterator comes out, and that's Toasty down, as Fox is still causing problems here, but D-Lab are the ones feeling much happier about that.
So dual lane goes as well as it could have for D-Lab, but on the other side, a bit of a botch dive onto the Murdoch. Blub getting the outplay, 1 versus 2, Lorber and Import not able to make anything happen against the Murdoch. Import also going down with that ultimate of his up. So a bit of a misplay there, but the more important fight on the left-hand side goes straight in favor of D-Lab, and they pick themselves up a few more frags. Also secure that tier 1 tower at least on that right-hand side for the Terror.
And just wondering as well, I mean, not that Lorber needs any excuse to get more involved. I mean, this is a player that we have known, of course, from EU, now joining over towards NA to take part for Dirty Lake and the boys. That likes to rotate. We saw that, I mean, with the first blood play right in the mid lane as well. Probably even caught me off guard as well. And I'm the one in the cloud watching this map in a very nice... happy little Cloud, completely avoiding all of the damage. That's why I'm not playing, by the way, here. But 16 minutes in, Midi Prime is currently on the board. It's the only neutral objective that's currently available to play here. Fox and Import just having a bit of a dance around the terrain on that right-hand side. But there's not really much up here aside from that Mini Prime here. And it looks like D-Lab, again, are in a bit of a pole position to start that one up.
Blub might be in a bad spot though. Lorber is there under turret, is gonna try to dive the tier 2, but is gonna give that up in a second. Knows that he can't really impact it with Ober close by as well. Import just getting so much farm though in the jungle of Ober. It does have a decent CS XP lead. Is gonna be a level up over that Rampage. Honestly, it's not as bad at the moment, but once the Aurora ticks over to level 11, that's when you see those big differences. When that ultimate is a level further down than the opposite junglers, it makes those fights infinitely harder to play. Talking about those fights, Fangtooth is gonna spawn in a second, so I'm definitely expecting there to be a big team fight again. This is gonna mean that it would be the third Fangtooth for D-Lab if they manage to secure it.
Well, all eyes are gotta be on the side of bad timing just to make up for the 70 minutes previously of this game, but Import already starting up the Fangtooth, definitely understanding the mission objective for the side, but bad timing, of course, are going to be here. Blob is still in base at the moment, but can get involved with the long arm of the law. Fangtooth dropping down About 3k HP as Lorba, Lake Nation Toasty starting to zone Ober away. No chance of the steal here. Deslake and the boys going to pick up themselves a free Fangtooth Monty. Permanent scaling towards their physical and their attacks and defenses as well. But BT is still sticking around. Import goes for the Glacial Charge, trying to split the fight, but can't quite find the angle. Never make it rain, but a good stun comes out from the Dreadnought. It cancels out the ultimate. It looks like everyone's just going to back away from this one, but D-Lab getting their third Fangtooth.
Almost looks like the confidence is not really there for Ober anymore as well. Uses the BMF but just stands there with that Razorback activated as well. Does not even try to go for the steal, is giving over the third Fangtooth of the game over to D-Lab. So that is a lot of permanent buffs now on the side of D-Lab's members. It's going to be 8% to armor and to the power as well, both physical and magical. And now that is going to make the life so much harder for the side of BT. So if those fights were hard before, they're definitely harder now. Ober is going to go to the dual lane.
He's looking for an opportunity. Toasty with the Crash Bang Boom already channeling. Going to be hit by the boulder toss, but the knockup does come through, and just that Narbash being piloted by Toasty is enough to dissuade the gank. Ober just cannot get anything done on this map.
Yeah, just absolutely nothing. And those are like a very questionable sort of plays there as well. Uses that rock in sort of a weird position and then just uses it on the Narbash that does have the True Silver. So all in all, a pretty botched sort of gank. Probably couldn't have been better anyways with the dual lane of BT being forced under turret. No follow-up there as well with that Muriel, only providing a little bit of soft CC, no stuns to be heard of. So it's definitely hard for the Rampage to find anything at this stage of the game. So I think his best bet is to just try to chain something together with that Murdoch, together with that Argus as well, and let them be the damage. Him just being the lockdown should be enough to get rid of some of those squishier members of D-Lab.
You've got to really start to worry as well for the side of bad timing as well, because as the desk highlighted with this Rampage, it's the only actual front line that they have in this composition, with them deciding to go for the ADC in the offlane as well. But Ober, Owen Frey, not meaning to harp on that Rampage at all, man, but you know, just really not finding the value in that pick at all. And Deslake and the boys more than happy to just start to group up here, trying to deny those pick opportunities, Tang, that you mentioned that bad timing are almost kind of banking on just to get themselves back in this game.
Definitely, yeah, but the map is getting smaller and smaller for BT at this point. Like, it is just really hard for them to contest the sides as well. Howitzer and Terra both are really strong in those 1 versus 1s, really hard to catch as well. Lorba is never gonna fall to Pablo in that isolated 1v1, but the second Pablo oversteps, it can't be the same the other way around. On the mid lane, Blub in a bad spot is gonna get a lot of damage done by Toasty, and Lakenator is gonna use the cleanse to disengage, but you can already see all across the map, it's just the members of BT routing D-Lab completely in control, running the game.
They're just closing in on all sides. Lorba is level 14 and at the left-hand side cannot be answered by anyone on the side of bad timing. They're going to finally take down the mid-tier 1. They're going to look towards the tier 2 tower in the right-hand side as well. That will soon fall, and Lorba split pushing on the left. It's classic 1-3-1 at the moment here, and with all prime on the table as well. Very dangerous for bad timing as well. Should Deadslake and the boys decide to pull the trigger, looks like they're going to move around, maybe get some wards down, not jumping onto it just yet. So you have to imagine that with the way that Deadslake and the boys have been playing, one more reset and they're going to be straight on that objective.
Yeah, so far Lorba just getting something on the left-hand side, so they don't really feel the need to go for that objective early, especially if they're already so far in the lead that they don't want to risk anything. They just want to go for those 90 to 100% plays, don't want to overstep, don't want to overforce their hand. Instead, they're going to scale up a bit more, look for those level 16 breakpoints, look for that Primal Fang to also be up, and then could potentially even look for something where you can trade the Primal Fang for that Prime. But now on the right-hand side, Blub no cleanse, and the side of D-Lab knows.
Vecron does have Reversal of Fortune if he needs it. Blob going to use his blink to get away from the funk from Toasty, just completely giving Dirty and the boys an avenue in towards his right-hand side. Pablo is trying to hold off Lorba on the left. Lakenator going to be hit by the Dreadnought, and a good Ether Crystal comes down. A bit of chip damage, but Toasty on that Narbash really going to start to see the value of the healing just keep on getting more effective as this game goes on. And Bad Time, already on a bit of a timer right now. Just know that there's going to be a point where Toasty is going to be causing so many problems, just too much sustain almost.
Yeah, and those team fights in Narbash is just so strong, I think. For the side of BT though, with that Muriel being picked up by Vecron, it also helps them as Lakenator has to pop the cleanse to escape. The Muriel also helps the Drango to actually be pretty aggressive on the left-hand side. Does not need to worry too much about the isolated 1v1, because there's always the Angel in the backlines waiting for her chance to help her carries out. So that is one thing that D-Lab needs to keep in mind. Lorba shouldn't try to overforce his hand on the left hand side either. Pablo usually has Vecron around trying to help him out.
You can already see that Pablo is dealing damage towards Lorba as well. There is about a third chunked off of the Terra picked piloted by Lorba on the left-hand side, but still holding on towards that tier 1 tower as well. And it seems that that's what Bad Timing have decided, to commit Pablo over towards the left and maybe just try to group up, as you say. They have got the Reversal of Fortune should they need to get Vecron into any other position here. Funk lands on towards Oba. A bit of poke coming out here because Primal Fangtooth is spawning, either he's about to spawn or he's about to spawn, shall I say, with the grouping up here. Let's say Vecron still can join the fight at any point. Import being quite far forward here as well on top of that Glacial Charge, using the Hoarfrost, rooting up 2 members as well. Complete control here of the Bad Timing red jungle, and now Lorba and now Import blinking in with the crisis. We're going to take down Blub. They're going to also look towards Oba. Dreadnought going to land here. Oba's a little bit tanking the Behemoth, but he's got to retreat. The Blink's coming out. Import going to go for the follow, and Import's going to get the kill, but they've also lost Pablo, and they're also going to lose Fox as well. Oba the only one left as D-Lab completely routs this side of the red jungle.
And that fight, honestly, I don't even know if I can call it a fight or if it was just a one-sided beatdown with D-Lab instantly recognizing, hey, that Blub guy, no blink, no cleanse, no life, no hope, instantly pounces, instantly gets the criticism from Import together with the Aurora in front of him as well. And with those two getting caught out, it's just a matter of time for the rest of BT to also share the same fate. Now, Primal Fang has been secured, 4th Fangtooth of the game for D-Lab. Doesn't give them any sort of temporary buffs, but does give them that big, doesn't give them permanent buffs, but does give them that big temporary team fighting buff. They're instantly gonna use that to try to get that Prime over. The only one in the vicinity could be going for the steal, but instead looks like he's getting chased around by Lorba.
Oba trying to go for the zone. Oba's going to jump in towards the pit. All eyes towards where that purple hue is going to go. And it is going to fall the way of Dirty Lake and the boys. Oba will be dropped in the pit. Went for the attempt. Went for the Hail Mary. And now Blob is going to pay for it. Another Hoarfrost. Another Glacial Charge. And here come the ultimates. Here come the damage. Here come the burn from that Primordial Blaze. One falls into the other, make that 4, make that 5. Dirty Lake and the boys are running riot in game number 1.
So, like, if you're watching this and you're like, why didn't D-Lab press the advantage further when they had the chance before? Well, I mean, the reason is because they didn't have to, right? Like, they just had to wait for one overstep by BT and then suddenly it just explodes. The game, not even close. D-Lab just running over BT at that point. And with that Primal Fang, with that Prime, they're instantly going for the siege. Rampage is gonna spawn in a second, but honestly, too little, too late. Core is gonna drop.
What a victory here in game number 1 from Dirty Lake and the boys. Your defending champions of PCC in a very clean game of Predecessor in their first game against Bad Timing. But of course, for Bad Timing as well, it is a best of 3. They do get another chance here. But honestly, looking at how this game went, Tang, you have to say though, for Bad Timing, might need to go back to the drawing board. Clearly, the range ADC didn't work.
Didn't work this time. Honestly, I wouldn't like instantly throw everything overboard and completely get rid of all the strategies that they have cooked up. I think there's still some promise, right? Like the problem is just that against the Terra, it feels pretty hard for the Murdoch to play, honestly. Like I think that is probably one of the worst matchups I could imagine. Usually, like you want to play against something that has less engage, less lockdown. Like Terra has both, right? She has Unstoppable, can run through everything from the Murdoch, can also root up from a distance, can also stun with her dash. So definitely not an easy matchup to play, and definitely Lorber showing off in that game. Just definitely stellar performance by him, being everywhere on the map and sort of exposing Blub in that one game. But still, Blub known more for his Grim, so I think if he gets the chance to show off in the second time, maybe if D-Lab are a bit overconfident after this game, maybe they can still show us something.
Well, as the desk highlighted, this was a game that was going to be just regimented team fighting cohesion versus raw talent. And it looks like Bad Timing might need to rely on that raw talent to carry them over. They got to do it the hard way against your defending champions. But whilst they think about it and go to game 2, it's back to D'Lo in the desk for the game breakdown.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. The machine is in motion. The defending champs are ramping into action. Lake and the boys are in the lab and playing out of their minds. Lance, Joe, run me through what we saw in that game.
So what I saw in that game, I know everybody wants to focus on what was going on with the double ADCs. I don't care what's going on with the double ADCs. Pay attention to Appy Picker when he's on the map. He had 100% kill participation up until like the 16, 17 minute mark.
Gross.
Very good performance on that howitzer. Wouldn't be terribly surprised to see that potentially taken away or picked away from him in our second draft when it's time for it.
Yeah, D-Lab definitely putting out all the stuff, doing really good in those team fights, but I see a lot of like mistakes by BT. A lot of like Rampage using ultimate and standing there, not menacingly, just standing there, not doing anything. A lot of like miscoordination, it seems like, in the last 2 team fights, especially where someone got caught out and the ADC that get caught out just die immediately, and then your whole just team comp just falls apart, right? I do really think that like D-Lab can of course keep doing what they're doing from that first game, but BT really need to step up in those like mid to late game team fights, because right now they're getting diff really hard in those when those team fights matter.
It's exactly what we saw at the stat board, man. Those KD ratios are up for a reason, and D-Lab are proving that they are not just a fluke championship team. They're trying to make it happen again. They're trying to break records here. And, I mean, BT, yeah, they didn't quite come up with a W. It was rough. They had some bumps. What did we like about their Game 1 performance?
I liked the early game that Blub had against Lauber. Had a little bit of an advantage early, as you would expect for a Murdoch to have into a melee offlaner. But as soon as that level 6 hits, it gets tough for him. You know, Lauber no longer susceptible to the CC. I liked what I saw out of their duo lane as well. I need to see a different jungle pick, though. I don't think if you're going to run that comp Rampage is what you're looking for. You need some sort of engage that's guaranteed, not reliant on hitting a rock.
Yeah, it's like I just said, that Rampage doesn't seem like a comfort pick. Even though that's the more ideal pick for the WC comp, it doesn't seem like it's a comfort pick, and what really matters a whole ton, especially in competitive play, is getting your comfort picks. Don't try to force good team comps if you're going for a mediocre pick on your kind of side, right? So I think what BT really need to do is they gotta draft better and get the more comfort picks, especially going against D-Lab.
Games can be won and lost in the drafting board. It's unfortunate when that happens, and I don't necessarily think it was here. There were moments, obviously BT did scale better. They had a moment there, we were huddled around the fire saying, oh, hold on, game ain't over just yet. There's a moment of hope, but unfortunately, those embers of revolt were stamped out. But there's still more games to play here. If you're BT, if you're in their comms, what are you saying to bolster our energy, to get our heads back in the game? What's our attitude got to be coming into 2?
I know BT has zero shortage of confidence. They need to not get discouraged by what they had. I don't expect them to get discouraged by what had just happened. Blub's not the type of person to remember the last game. He's going to lock in an ADC offlane next game. He's going to try it again.
Yeah, I think BT still has a fair chance of having like a very solid second game. As long as their mental is intact and they come up with a better strategy, now they're seeing that D-Lab is responding to the offlane ADC very well. I think BT can give D-Lab a harder time going to the second game.
And going into the second game, we will, but not before just a short break. Don't you dare go anywhere. We got more Pred action coming at you in just a second. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. PCC8 quarterfinals action, game 2 on the horizon here between D-Lab and BT. It's D-Lo, it's Lance, it's Joe. It's the only choice when it comes to your production for your predecessor needs. Thanks for all your help there, Choice, as well. Guys, momentum is on the mind here. These are teams that are really going to be affected by what we just saw. The wave started here in game 1. Obviously, D-Lab with their pedigree, they're feeling good. They have the wind behind their sails. What do we need to see here for a different outcome?
I think that it still comes back to like what I said in the post-game analysis. I think that comp can work with a different jungler who has more of a guaranteed engage. Something like a Chimera that can just right-click onto the ADC of D-Lab or onto Appy Picker, get back there, push R on him, use the call of the call, CC him for a good period of time, allow the rest of your players to be able to focus that DPS and that burst damage down onto it, take out that high priority target, and then let the extra damage that your dual ADC composition has within it.
Yeah, exactly as you say, Lance. It really just comes down to execution at the end of the day. D-Lab always have that consistent, very high level execution. And so if BT wants to get ahead and win the second game, they have to get as close as they can to match that. And definitely gotta get those comfort picks. Don't pick a Rampage just because it's good for your team card. Pick someone that you know you're comfortable about getting aggressive, because you need to show that aggressiveness against the really aggressive D-Lab team right here.
Your backs are against the wall here. You are looking at potential elimination from the bracket. And with just how much damage their damage core is outputting on the side of D-Lab, you got reason to be worried here. But like we said, it's not just about the P's and B's, though they are certainly important. We're hoping for some better stuff here when it comes to these picks. It's also how you execute on field. And so far, all eyes as far as who's been executing, it's Appy all day.
Executing and executing the enemies Appy has been. Made it rain as if it was hurricane season in Florida in that last one. Like we said, 100% kill participation up until like the 15-16 minute mark, which is kind of nuts if you're the mid laner. Yeah, you've got the potential to get to either side, but that's a stat you expect to see from a jungler. That type of kill participation, kind of nuts for a mid laner. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Appy prioritized within these picks and drafts on the side of bad timing to try to take some stuff away from him, although his bag runs deep.
Yeah, Appy Picker is just really feasting, especially in that first game with the house to pick against WADC, just having that really high single target burst damage. So I think right now the strategy, the execution of D-Lab is just pretty dang good. Now BT, they have to bring it together to match that execution coming to game 2.
Well, draft is upon us. It's on the horizon. This is our chance for BT to find some answers to the questions we're posing for them. Tara, will it be first pick again, or will it be first ban off the mark? What are our expectations here for these first wave bans?
I think it kind of depends on who's got the first pick here. If it is D-Lab on the first pick again, I expect to see Grim get taken away. I don't know if that's what the problem was. Actually, it looks like it's going to be a Muriel ban out of bad timing, or out of Dirty Lake and the boys. I'm a little surprised by that. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't really see Mayo doing like a super whole ton in that last game, but that's probably due to the fact that BT didn't really have the best execution with the Mayo in those team fights. But I guess D-Lab still don't like the Mario pick. They don't want BT to just get that Mario pick again, because I think what D-Lab is probably thinking is BT is going to work out a better draft that Mario can perform like 10 times better in, and D-Lab's like, yeah, let's take Mario away. I don't want to deal with that whole mess right there. But it's going to be interesting to see what BT is going to ban, and they do ban the Howitzer. So both teams are kind of looking at each other, looking at the last game. They're like, Mirror's the problem, let's ban her. Howitzer, Appy is the big problem. Let's get rid of that pick right there.
Appy says, put some respect on my name. You can't blame him. Absolutely terrifying to see such great kill participation so late into the game. But you know what that leaves open? Terra. She's back. She's diving you. She's terrorizing your back line.
The way that I see this is D-Lab is prepared for this ADC offlane. You get rid of the Muriel, who's got the ways to add extra damage with her passive onto the double ADCs, has the ability to get to one from across the side of the map, really enhances what an ADC can do. That's why she's such a popular support. Terra very good into an offlane ADC as well, so it looks like they are ready for this. Bad Timing going to pick up the Zarus, which usually very, very contested. We saw it banned in our last one. I expect that to go to Oba in the jungle. That gives him somebody he can do an engagement on. Point and click engagement on the Colosseum for his ultimate. Like to see that at a Bad Timing, listening to Lance, taking his advice.
Yeah, I'm very happy that BT is prioritizing the jungle pick, because seeing that Oba on that rampage pick, very uncomfortable, can't really do much, but the Sarah is very more straightforward, a lot more comfortable pick. So I think if BT wants to execute the WAC strategy, well, now you have a jungler that can actually show that aggression. But we're seeing Twin Blast pick up right here, which is kind of like a normal pick, except when considering the fact that Grim is not banned at all, and Blood on BT loves to play Grim offlane. But if he's not picking up Grim right now, he's probably like hesitant to pick the ADC again on offlane after that first game right there.
Drongo going to be the pick up here for D-Lab, as well as Decker, who was second wave banned in the last game. So D-Lab going to take advantage of that, take that one off the market before Bad Timing can snatch it back.
And Decker, Toasty, very, very known for playing this Decker. Probably his best support, the one he's the most comfortable on. Expect these long-range stun balls to land, because Toasty, he's got that Steph Curry accuracy he ain't missing.
And we see August being the last pick to round out BT's comp. So kind of like the similar pick from last game, except it won't be August against the Howitzer again. It's going to be a different mid lane matchup. So I guess the question is going to really come down to the second wave of bans and picks, because D-Lab is looking very, very strong right now with the Terra and also the Drongo Dagger, which is looking to be like the best performing duo in this tournament so far. Just both providing so much burst damage, so much crowd control, so much, like, everything just going so well when you have Drongo Deck in the same lane, and it's gonna be really, really hard to match that. And I'm not sure if I'm seeing this right, but I've seen BT ban out the Grim, which is kind of puzzling a little bit for the fact that that's kind of taken away that comfort pick from Blood. But at the same time, Grim is actually pretty popular in the mid lane in the right hands. I think Abby actually likes to play Grim mid, so I think they're sort of having that foresight of like, hey, this could be a Abby or not. So a little bit hiccup in the draft, but either way, I think that makes a lot more sense. Yep, that makes sense. Grim being banned from D-Lab, and then the Wall being banned from BT. The BT still kind of lacking that like second front line or jungle kind of pick, right? So it's kind of surprising to see them take away the Wall, but I think they respecting the import pick more than anything on that.
It seems that both sides have really respected the comps that we've got last time with that Aurora being taken off the map. Don't want to deal with those walls no longer. You know who that opens up, though? Gideon joins the side here of Bad Timing. Also joined by Gideon on D-Lab. We got some interesting doppelganger action here. It's actually going to be Richter slotted in here for Bad Time. I'm about to say double mid. Interesting. And that's going to be firmly in the hands of Appy. I'm scared.
Appy's real good on Howitzer, really good on Gideon. There is an answer on the side of Bad Timing, though. The Dreadnova and the pull from the Richter, both able to take out that black hole. So a little bit of counterplay there. I'm sure that we will see the True Silver Bracelet being built on Appy Picker with this Gideon here. We do see Bad Timing rounded out with the Murdoch after the Grim is banned, so once again, probably going to see the Murdoch into the Terra matchup. Maybe Blub's learned in the last 5 minutes and can press that early game lead if he's able to get it. We will round out the composition with Kwong for Dirty Lake and the boys as well.
Yeah, D-Lab is looking very, very scary. If I were to come up with a dream team comp coming into the PTC, this is exactly the kind of team comp I want to see coming from D-Lab, and it feels like BT is running WAC again, which, yeah, that's a strategy they've been working on, but it's looking a little bit rougher compared to the first game. Not having like a super solid like frontliner with the Rampage, or not having the Mirio to really kind of support this WAC playstyle.
Is this the moment to push all your chips in the center on this double ADC comp, or is it just Bad Timing? Lads, comp for comp, we've got it all lined up for a potential ending to this first quarterfinals. Who do we favor for the comps?
I got to pair it what Joe said here. I think that if you are trying to pick a perfect composition, D-Lab basically has it here. I.e., don't feel confident for bad timing here, and I hate it because I wanted the series to be close.
Yeah, unfortunately, the one point we bring across the last draft is like, hey, BT needs to step up the draft game, especially if they want to win the WACs. But it feels like it just gotten worse. Sure, you got the jungle on the comfort pick, but I'm like looking at BT's comp, and it's just like, how do you just even get in when you're going against this monster of a team comp that D-Lab is having? But game 2 is going to be coming here in just a sec, so I guess have to wait and see.
They got options. Bad timing might be able to pull this one away. We hope the scrappy underdogs have got some bite to bite back with. That being said, we don't gotta wait to see it. Game 2, potential ending to this first quarterfinals coming at ya. TJ, DJ, and Tang, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dilo. And honestly, I gotta tip my hat over towards bad timing, especially with how game number 1 went, with how clean D-Lab were playing across the map with the micro, with the macro plays as well. BT just decided, you know what? We're gonna try again. With everything on the line, this is our comp, and we're going to throw it at you one more time. TJ here, Tang alongside me for this one. And honestly, Tang, were we expecting BT to just basically run back the comp again?
Honestly, I kind of was, to be completely honest with you. I think one small setback should not be enough for you to throw your entire game plan away. Yes, last game was a bit rough. Yes, Dealer played really well around that ranged offlaner, sort of making him pretty invisible in that game. But honestly, like, they have played quite a few games of this, so they are not too disheartened. I think they still want to keep going. Again, this time it's going to be the Murdoch again on that offlane. TB piloted by Pablo in the dual lane, and this time with that Richter support and that Sarah's in the jungle. They're hoping to have a bit more frontline as well, have a bit more setup, and allow those ADCs to pump out the damage.
Giving over something like the Zarus as well. Probably going to have a lot more impact than that Rampage in game number 1. That's certainly what bad timing are hoping for as well. I do like this Richter pick coming out here as well. I should say just give them another option, another large body to walk in towards those narrow choke points and try and push D-Lab away from those objectives here. Blub, much like game number 1, is going to push Lubber all the way back towards the tower. I'm going to drop the spray in the exact same position as well. Fair play, my friend. That is how you really go for it here.
And this time we can also see that the junglers both start in the right hand side. So Kwang is gonna clear over towards the side of Blab. Meanwhile, the Ceres is clearing away from him. So this time Oba might not be there for the level 3, might not be there when those ranged offlaners are gonna be a big problem. But I think I also want to talk about something else, TJ, because the desk was mentioning a lot. We maybe weren't quite as much, but Epi Picker in that mid lane was putting on a clinic last game on that howitzer. This time on the Gideon, definitely expect him to do something similar, but Oba, while I'm finishing my thought, is going for the vertical, so is gonna shadow the offlane of Blub.
Just going to make sure as well that Blub does have that safety as well. We just want to make sure, of course, that the Murdoch off lane can be allowed to thrive, can be allowed to punish here. But then again, you have to think back to game number 1. If Lorba's just going to roam towards that mid lane as well, I've got to be careful. Vectron hitting a Ripbash on towards Lakenator, going for the damage. Pablo being poked down low, but Lakenator's got to deal with this Richter in his face. Drops down, blinks over the ledge, and will keep himself alive. But that's a blink down on that left-hand side.
No blink on Drongo. Also wave pushing into the side of D-Lab. Slow push, and Drongo can't really contest it. Now Import and Oba are fighting in the river, but it's just about river control. Nothing too much happening. 3 camp was stolen away by Oba before. Import having to run away. Fox there as well, but dash out with the surge is gonna get the Kwang to safety. Even the rotation from Blab happening in the mid lane, forcing out the blink.
Ooh, and I do like this from bad timing as well. It just feels that the gloves are off. You know, it's all or nothing on those plays in the mid lane as well. Trying to catch on towards Appy. I'm going to force out a blink as well on a very elusive Gideon pick, it has to be said as well. Just hopping it back over towards the left-hand side. Of course, Lakenator and Tosi have both reset. Pablo Vecron just got to catch this wave as it crashes here as well. Just for the opening exchanges, very much like game number 1 as well. It took 8 minutes for First Blood to even drop here. That's going to be a very creative use of the wall there just to hit Pablo on his shoulder. So he's feeling very good about this Decker pick as well.
Definitely is, and I think staggering the recoil there is going to mean that Pablo is behind in tempo. I think if D-Lab wants to go for an early sort of Fangtooth play again, I think they have good chances with the two lane being desync in their backs. So that could be an angle to play for. But now I see Import on that right-hand side go for a bit of a cheeky gank through the lane towards Blub.
Just going to be on that sign camp as well, but Import is a bit low, so doesn't really want to get involved here, but I don't think Blub is going to be aware here. He's going to think about dropping the ward down, but it looks like it just caught on that column as well. As that sign buff does get taken down, Import does get a little bit of health regen from it, but doesn't seem to be enough. Just a bit of a stare down on his right-hand side. Blub knows something's up, but Import's channeling that recall. He's going to stop it as well. Looks like Blub was ahead of the game all along. That ward was just a distraction play.
Yeah, so no kill happening. Blub playing safe again, not really getting caught out there as last game. Now Orba starting up that Fangtooth with the dual lane already having first move as well. Should be a pretty safe sort of play for them. Toasty ganking the mid lane, forcing out the blink from Argus. Not up anymore for him, but is gonna mean Fangtooth secured.
Already, bad timing. Seems that, just changing that jungle pick has just completely changed everything here. You might be forgiven for thinking that we got the overlays the wrong way around here, but no, that is bad timing, picking up their first Fangtooth objective 10 seconds before D-Lab did in that game number 1 already. So just the smallest of victories going their way, but again, bad timing. They got to play all or nothing. This is their elimination game if they do fall down. Import looks for the gank, not going to find it. Tether misses that stasis bomb, not going to find the mark on towards Pablo either here, but Import's going to quickly know that that Fangtooth has already been taken down. Bad timing. Let's be a bit more improved here as Lorber's going to go for a bit of a ring around the rosy on this tier 1 tower, trying to get the pick on towards Blob. That bookshot connects. Lorber does walk out underneath tower. But there we go. Much like game number 1, it's the same way that solo lane's falling.
Yeah, so Lorber again with the level 6, able to just do whatever he wants to Blub, but still blink up on the Murdoch. Means the tower dive is not as easy even with that unstoppable. So Lorber respected, just goes back, just baits Blub into a bit of a safety, and then maybe strike afterwards again. But dual lane, Pablo and Vecron so far playing pretty well, not getting caught at all, using the priority that they did get in lane to transition that into the Fangtooth that couldn't be answered again with the mini prime because it just hasn't spawned yet. Another minute for that to actually happen. Both teams not really playing for those kills so far, TJ. Very different to sort of the games that we are used to this time. Both teams really want to focus on those objectives instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we think back to the Swiss phases, how bloodthirsty these games were, it was not uncommon that before the 10-minute mark we had 6, 7, maybe 8 kills, just over a kill a minute here. But right now, both these teams playing a lot more restrained, a lot more disciplined as well. Certainly, in the case of bad timing as well, to pick up that first Fangtooth does give you an indication. Of course, with D-Lab, with their composition, the strength that Lance was highlighting as well, called it one of the perfect comps you're looking to draft here. It's still on BT to show up and try and find an answer here. So they're going to start with the mini prime. There's like the boys getting their first neutral.
Yeah, honestly, Oba just kind of running Import at the moment, just there for every objective. Import not really finding any of the ganks either. So all in all, while Oba is not really getting the most farm, he's getting those objectives. And with that, he is getting global XP as well. Mini Prime on the Murdoch is going to make it really hard. Richter, though, in a bad spot, not even has time to blink. Lakenator picks that one up with the ultimate.
Black Hole coming out here from Appy Picker on towards Fox. A bit of a DPS battle as a Particle Shredder and a Sonatic Obliterator. But Fox is just standing still and Appy drops a rock on his head. They're taking the boys. Lose 2 neutrals. They pick up 2 kills, including that first blood in the left-hand side here for bad timing. Losing a little bit of that momentum. But I'm looking towards the minimap here. Looking at a rotation coming out here from bad timing as Blood with the long arm of the law helps Oba get the kill on towards Appy Picker. So BT able to at least answer back in the kills.
So they get assist onto Mother, kill with the Colosseum stacks onto that Ceres of Oba. So good sequence of plays by them, but it was previously answered with 2 carries of D-Lab's own. Still, every objective so far has been claimed by BT. I think the only thing I wish I could see a bit more of for the side of BT is for Over to actually group together with the Murdoch and try to get something in terms of structures. They do have the first mini prime. You really want to transition that into some tier 1 damage. Fox though checking the shadow wall, but Lorba is there.
You just see the damage coming out for that ruthless assault. Lorba still has the hurl available. The Ether Crystal jumps up Fox. Going to have a tower helping out a little bit here. Lorba going down to about a quarter HP, but Fox can't really push this advantage too much. Blob is on the scene. Import also arriving on the mini-map as well, so Fox able to get out of dodge there as he bumped into Lorba on that right-hand side. A couple of resets being picked up here. Toasty on the roam here as well, linking up with Appy Picker. A bit of damage on towards that structure as well, but already seeing a flashpoint for now for that next team fight.
Yeah, neither team really wants to overplay their hands. We also see pretty much every blink up. The only ones missing is that Argus in the mid lane for BT. But I think both teams know that they want to keep those cooldowns for that big fight that's going to happen around the Fangtooth Pit, if I am to be believed. Because both of those teams have shown that they want to focus on those early Fangtooth objectives. But Lorba is having a few problems wave clearing against Blub on that right-hand side, but still has the mini prime for a bit longer.
So just causing problems, but now Lorba is just going to jump on top of Blob, able to get away from the bookshot, just dealing the damage. The Highland Hurl goes wide, the Ruthless Assault comes down, that's a blink. Good bookshot from Blob. Blob with the outplay, solo bolo onto Lorba, and there is the Murdoch off lane.
Spray on the ground. Murdoch gets the big outplay. Blub schooling Lorba right there. Secures the tier 1 off the back end of it as well. And what a clean sequence of play. Blink away, waits for the blink follow, insta buckshot away, and then just the cold execute with that long arm of the law that honestly didn't need to be that long anyways in close range. Picking that one up. The over prime mechanics still there for Blub, but now Vecron in a bad spot. Fangtooth has been started up by D-Lab.
This Lake and the boys wanting to respond with this second Fangtooth. Going to be their first picked up for their side. Taking a little bit of chip damage as Appy and Import jumping forward, looking for an opportunity. Appy Picker goes to the black hole, goes to the combination, and look at their health bars drop. Dirty Lake and the boys pounce on the members of Bad Timing, and they got to run. Pablo can't get to safety. Appy Picker rocks his world just like that. D-Lab fight 4.
Yeah, and it's just so dry, isn't it? It's just a big black hole from Appy Picker just completely dominating the side of BT. 4 members falling, Blub with the outplay in the offlane. But honestly, after this fight, it only looks half as impressive as before. Scoreline 2-6. CS scores pretty even. And all in all, Fangtooth also claimed by D-Lab in the process. So big comeback from them. And honestly, I think it is still sort of the same scenario as the last game. I'm really hoping for BT to actually get ahead early, because I don't really have too much hope in the late game for them. Lakenator getting outboxed by Blub. That does have the ultimate up. Lakenator needs to be careful.
Blub just feels like a completely different beast now with that solo kill. It's got long on the law, but Lakenator does not drop. It's not enough damage. That's going to be a Lakenator forced onto the recall here as well. Just BT again coming out swinging, and it was just that last team fight that just kind of dampens a little bit of what BT were able to do there, Tang. But honestly, much more improved from the early game in game number 1 here, and it seems that they do not want to give up that pressure. Oba and Fox here in the mid lane. Dreadnova going to land on towards Toasty. But Opa's not thinking about a dive. Vecron with the pincer. This will be a 3 versus 2. Also got Pablo on the move as well. So now to obliterate on towards Appy Picker. Colosseum able to block one, but a Torn Space comes through. Good follow through. Vecron can't find the Riplash. Dreadnova does land. Opa's got a dive. He's got a jump. He's got a dodge, dip, and dive those skill shots, but he still takes the Iron Strike. Opa's going to have to back away, but still signs of life from Bad Timing.
Signs of life, but maybe not the signs I want to see. Oba using the Colosseum on a Gideon that does have the Torn Space up. pretty questionable stuff going on there, and that is shortly before that mini prime is gonna spawn. Now Blub in the offlane in a bad spot. Lorber popping the ultimate early, and Toasty is there as well. This time Blub, it just looks like you are the target, falling in the 1 versus 3 and opening up the map for D-Lab to exploit. Tier 1 in the offlane, mini prime about to spawn as well, and D-Lab is feasting.
And that kill felt personal, I feel, on that right-hand side as well, especially with Dirty Lake and the boys of how they're playing as well. Seems they have started to turn this game up yet another notch, matching the aggression coming out of bad timing, and they are rewarded with the mini prime going over to Lorber this time, so it's not going to be on the hands of Blub just yet, and a reset coming out here. 2 kills to 7. Both of these teams are definitely not pulling their punches, Tang.
Yeah, I think from like after minute 7, I think this game exploded. So much action happening everywhere. It's just that D-Lab has been getting the better of it after that short, sort of shaky early game where they were forced to give over each and every objective that we did see. But honestly, for BT, the shining light still on that offlane. Blub explaining why BT invests so much of the draft resources into getting Blub a good matchup, into getting that ranged offlaners that we don't usually see teams go for, but now again Lorber in the offlane against Blub.
He's going to try and run him down. Another Highland Hurl lands, but Appy Picker is here just to lend a little bit more damage. There is the sprays coming out from Appy and Lorber. The disrespect from Dirty Lake and the boys. Again, this is getting spicy, Tang, and I'm all here for it.
This looked so personal. Honestly, like half of this is probably my fault as well. Caster cursing Blub out of existence there, but the double spray really tells the entire story, I think. Epi Picker on that Gideon. Usually, like that is one of the things that we usually expect from the Gideon as well. Just perma rotates. Now Pablo might be the one that is caught though. Lorber trying to go for the dive. Pablo getting the reversal of fortune. Lorber going under the turret. Getting chased now by that TB. Reversal of fortune was actually stopped with a stun coming out. Pablo still on the chase. Lorber running.
He's got to try and get away from the grenades. The slows that come out. The Highland Hurl will land. It's going to be one slow one towards Pablo. He's got the rocket boots, but stats piercing shot will land. Another grenade, another Dreadnova. Lorber is just trying to dodge as much as he can, but it was truly inevitable. This time Pablo gets to pick on towards Lorber, but that is a lot of time, a lot of resources used on towards the right-hand side, and immediately Deslake and the boys are going to respond because the third Fang Tooth of the game has spawned, and they instantly pounce on it.
Yeah, they get the Fang Tooth. The Muriel was only in my imagination there as well. By the way, that was the cleanse coming out of the TB, of course, that Pablo was piloting. But yeah, all in all, they get the Terror on the right-hand side. They also get the mini prime off the side of D-Lab, but they have to trade it against the Fang Tooth being taken by D-Lab now. 8-3 the scoreline, 17 minutes in. Fang Tooths, at least compared to last game, at least BT got the first one, so they could stop the sort of winning condition with the 3 Fang Teeth. But honestly, Lorber on that offlane has been just running at all of those ADCs, and BT so far not really finding an answer against the Terror.
Well, it seems that the only answer they have kind of found really is just 3 members ganking 1 versus 3. I'm just pointing down because I say, even though Blub had that quite ridiculous outplay as well, gonna need a little bit more. But that's what we wanted to see from bad timing as well. Seeing their aggression, seeing these outplays coming down, seeing a blink coming out from Toasty, looking towards Pablo. Vecron misses that Impale, and now Pablo is called out. He's not got away out this one. Import is going to run him down. Lakenator getting the kill, and now they take down Vecron as well. Disaster in the left-hand side as once again D-Lab pounce.
BT is like, we can overload the side lanes, and D-Lab strikes back, doing it better than them. Now Fox in the mid lane, Import and Epi Picker on top of him. Black Hole used, blink away by Fox, using their ultimate to try to get a bit more damage, but Import on top of him, securing the kill. Now Colosseum used by Ober.
Ober wanting to re-engage, but he's on his lonesome at the moment. He's split from the rest of his team, and he's taking a lot of damage. One more stasis bomb will be the death. Appy Picker torn spaces forward. Ober knows that his demise is going to be quick, and it's going to be here, and it's going to have Appy Picker's name written all over for it. Blub going to blink away, throws. He's currently lining up that long arm of the law and takes down Lakenator with that ultimate. Goes for the reset as well. I mean, Blub is certainly having fun in this game as well, but man, this game, as say Tank, it's just turned up a yet another notch here between these two teams.
Yeah, Blub not missing his long arms off the law before, also hitting Lakenator, but barely missing the execute this time. It was enough though, really good on those ultimates, hitting those snipes from a distance, using the blink beforehand though to escape the tether of imports. At the moment, nothing really to fight for, TJ. I think both objectives are down. 19 minutes in the game, 1 minute for the Big Prime to spawn, and Primal Fangtooth will spawn shortly afterwards. I think one thing I really want to mention though is the CS core. Usually as the team with a ranged offlaner, you want to get those leads early and transition them into the mid to late game. Blub has been playing stellar, has been playing really good, but is even in terms of CS to the Terror on the offlane, 150 CS each, and that is definitely not a sight you want to see for BT coming into that mid to late game.
No, and as you say as well, like it's kind of what the plan was, to put Lorber behind, make sure Blob is ahead, just use the range versus melee matchup in Blob's favor, get him ahead, get him rotating. He is definitely rotating here, but the fact is that Lorber has been doing such a good job of keeping even here. Lakenator walks in towards this jungle. Fox going for the flank here with a Blast Flower. Lakenator uses his blink, able to get away from the Dreadnova, but can he escape the Synaptic Obliterator? Lorber should be able to body block. Highland Hurl does land, stuns on towards Fox, and now the Arg's got to get away. He used his blink to get up the wall, and that is going to cost him. Lorber just runs down the Args in the mid lane, and Bad Timing are having to run, having to flee from Dirty Lake and the boys, continuing this onslaught. Blub and Fox are going to lose their lives for it.
Yeah, both Blub and the Fox, the two damage dealers, falling there is not a good sign. But again, no objectives on the left-hand side up, but the Prime has spawned in the meanwhile, and Import instantly goes for that one. Gideon and Drongo toasty there as well. Zeros knows something is up, but the big question is, can they actually walk in? It's only a 3 versus 5. Richter and TB still a bit further away. Prime drops to 8k.
Ober is here. Going to be stuck by that containment fence, going to be stunned, going to be rooted up. CC City, Ober's just got nowhere to go, and Ober is back to his spawn, and this means Dirty Lake and the boys are able to get a very easily secured or prime, but there was the synergy coming out from your reigning champions, locking Ober, preventing him from even playing the game.
Yeah, that is just rough. Drongo silence also just making it a mess for Ober to actually do anything there, and the lockdown with the tether together with the root that Terra has, and the Decker boys coming in from Toasty just makes it so hard for Ober to even face check this, especially with Richter and TB being a bit delayed. Now Prime again secured at around the 22 minutes mark as in the first game, and now Primal is also on the board for either team to take it. With the Prime secured, D-Lab feels very confident stepping into the blue side, but we see BT does not want to give this up. They are around. Vecro needs to hit a good hook though.
A good hook, a good Colosseum, a catch, anything for Bad Timing to latch onto, and maybe Appy Picker might be the one they were going to look to pick off here, as Appy Picker just gets taken out. Blub hitting them shots, and that is going to be one All Prime buff off the menu here, and also a massive team fight ult over on this left hand side should the Primal Fangtooth be started. But keep your eyes on the minimap, my friends, because Lorber is split pushing on the right hand side, taking down the tier 2 tower, has got to force a response here because he has the All Prime buff as well. Now what do Bad Timing do? Do they stick or do they twist? It looks like they're going to stick. They're going to try and burn through the Primal Fangtooth, but that just leaves Lorber able to keep up the pressure here. D-Lab, if they can stop the recalls, if they can cause something here, this might just be the end of the game. Primal Fangtooth down towards 2k. It is going to go the way of Bad Timing here, and they're just going to try and collapse on towards Impulse, but they just need to stop the backs. Look at the core. Look at the HP underneath Bad Timing. Down to 40, down to 30. Lorber is just going to end the game. He doesn't even care. Blinks in the air for celebration as the back door is complete. Dirty Lake and the boys advance to the semi-finals.
Yeah, who doesn't know it's trading the Primal Fangtooth for the core. BT one of the worst trade deals in existence, at least what I've seen. The core easily exposed to Lorber with that big prime. Just honestly pretty anticlimactic end to a really banger series. Honestly, BT was like, they found the fights they were looking for. They were getting those frags. Their eyes just a bit too big for their own good, and they just give up the entire base for Lorber to just end the game dry as that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I agree with that. Anticlimactic. I mean, with how the team fights were going around those objectives, I was expecting another big 5v5, but I just see Lorber split pushing, and it's just like, you're there saying, surely not. No. He's going to take, okay, he's going to take the second, he's going to take tier 2, and he's going to back away. Okay, in him, maybe going to trade. No, he's got the all prime buff. He's going to end. Bad timing. You got to respond to it. And unfortunately, well, we know what happens there, but congratulations to Dirty Lake and the boys. Some clean play, and they still bring it out when it matters. Commiserations to bad timing as well. But, you know, this title defense here for Dirty Lake and the boys, just off that first set, though, is looking pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. There's D-Lab in a sort of position where they are definitely the favorites coming into this tournament. I think they are not only the title defenders, but also heavy favorites winning this game. Honestly, a few people were saying that BT with their sort of off-lane strats could pull out a victory, but I think D-Lab showed that with smart wave control, with decent picks, with good drafting, they can just roll over BT, and that's exactly what they did. Also, like, BT, I mean, lane assignments maybe wasn't their strong suit, at least in the end of the game, of course, with Lorber finishing the game, finishing the series 2-0 for D-Lab.
Well, I think we can all definitely agree that Bad Timing put on a show as well. That game number 2, some of those outplays, some of the highlights, real moments as well. The sprays, it had the BM, it had the disrespect, but it also had the core dropping as well. I'm going to go back to the desk for the post-set breakdown.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the post-wrap desk. BT, they don't move on to semis, but they do have job offers at GameStop because boy, do they love making some unfortunately bad trades. Guys, looking at that set loss there, D-Lab move on. Our thoughts?
I love it from D-Lab. Don't sleep on how good of a team Bad Timing was. Yes, they just got 2-0'd. It didn't look fantastic. There was some macro mistakes within it, but this was a very tough first round opponent in a lot of people's eyes. Lorber really standing on his head, much like Lance, a big fan of the back door.
Yeah, I really do think that D-Lab is going to be one of the toughest teams to go against and favored to, at least by the fans, to win this tournament again. But again, the big thing we're pointing out from the previous set, BT really needs to step up the macro game. They need to come together in this team fight. And we saw right there towards the end, they didn't communicate at all, didn't respect the Lorber split push to end the call right there. Like, you just cannot let those mistakes happen at all.
Man, this set had everything. It had tragedy. It had comedy there with that sprays. We were seeing some nice solo dolo action back and forth, some heat being traded here. But at the end of the day, the machine wins it. This is the unfortunate alternate ending of Terminator. And, you know, I got to give, once again, credit to Appy. That amazing black hole we saw around the Fangtooth pit, that was something to behold.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what was going on with BT, why they were hanging out in that choke point right there. It looks like maybe they were a little worried about the engagement or trying to flip that Fangtooth, but they set themselves up into a position where Gideon can just black hole on top of you, and either you're blinking or you're dying, and the health bars were already so low, there just wasn't much for them to do. But that's the strengths of Dirty Lake and the boys. They're a seasoned veteran team. Yeah, they had to replace their jungler, but they replaced it with a dev of the game, with somebody who's been playing this game years longer than anybody else has because of their access. Dirty Lake and the boys look primed to repeat.
Yeah. It's good to be cautious, especially when you're going against good teams, but there's a problem of being too overly cautious, too scared to just go in and do what you need to do. Because obviously, the jungler got the more comfort pick, they got the comfort picks all around, but they're still too scared to just go do team fights kind of stuff, right? And you cannot be scared if you want to get that trophy again for the PCC.
End of the day, the result is the same. D-Lab, congratulations. You're moving on to tomorrow. BT, hang up your hats. You put up a good fight, but Maybe Joe is right. Double ADC just might not be the move. That being said, next set coming up here in just a bit. Rogue versus Flow State. Hopefully they can get in their flow. Don't go anywhere. More PCC action coming at you after the break.